kind of frothy on that.
Extra champagne.
Yeah. What is flapping, feather fluffers? Welcome to Toucan Rant. We're just two toucans with two tall cans who can rant because we got two tall cans. And on the opposite side of the table, coming at you with two tall cans. Oh, God damn it, I had it all memorized. Coming at you with tall cans and both grips and a mouth I sometimes wish you would just quit. Jeremy!
Wow, I don't remember your intro, but you've been practicing.
Yeah, like that was
On the hold on. On the other side of the table, bringing deep thoughts and reason, and who we kidding if it wasn't for him, you'd all be leaving. It's
JD. I think you're supposed to announce the other person, and we go, hey, yeah, say stuff, and then blah blah blah. We'll get it next time.
Man, we fuck this up every time. I was just about to interrupt you and be like, wow, you've been practicing we're just two cans with two tall cans. Because you got it.
Yeah, well, there's mental impediments in my speech occasionally.
And we're finally back after somewhat of a hiatus due to holidays, and I thought I was dying and couldn't talk or hear, and I still kind of can't hear.
Yeah, what's up with that?
So I went to the walk-in, and apparently, because I thought I had an ear infection, it was pounding so bad the night before, and apparently because my sinuses are so plugged, and draining, it sucked my eardrum in.
Jesus.
Yeah, and he said the only thing to do is wait it out until it all drains, or if I wanted, he could stick a needle in my neck and drain it. And I just looked at him.
Mr. Needle.
Yeah, I looked at him, and he's like, I really don't want to do that in the walk-in here, though. And I was like, nah, that's cool, man. I don't need a needle in my neck. So
The doctor was uncomfortable doing it at the walk-in?
Yeah, he said
wants
that's
a
not
professional
something. Well, that's not something you do at a
walk-in clinic.
Yeah, I mean, he's seeing a lot of different people. He's like, that's gonna take a minute, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. He's like, I don't think you want that. I'm like, no. I was tempted to say, well, I've already had a needle in my eye. How much worse could it get? But then I was afraid he was gonna whip it out and just
Be 3 times as long.
Yeah.
Have to go from the top through your ear into the canal down.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Like, no, it's like right in your neck here, because apparently there's like these drainage things from your ear and your nose. It's all connected. Yeah, I don't know. I was living on Mucinex and holiday parties, which kind of sucked. But I survived, and I like got my voice back. Like, I could barely talk for a couple days, and especially at work, like trying to yell over machines. It was funny. The people were like, what? And then
The
I'm just
only
like,
time anyone's ever had
Yeah,
to like,
yeah.
hey, what'd you say, Jeremy? Speak up a minute.
Yeah, everyone's like, wow, are you okay? You're really quiet. And I'm like, I can't talk, so I wrote down a lot of stuff. And then, like, nobody wanted to get near me because I was sick.
Super sick.
Yeah, so they stand 5 feet back and they want to have a conversation. I'm like, nah, dude, that's not going to work.
You
Like,
should have brought a megaphone.
Yeah, well, and then, like, the head guy, he, like, comes around, brings us our Christmas presents, which was pretty cool. We got, like, I don't know if it's $20 or $25 for Amazon. But he's like, he gives it to me and he holds out his hand, and I just look at him like, you don't want to shake my hand. And he like kind of looks at me weird, and I was like, I'm really sick. I'm like, I can give you a hug if you want, but I don't think you want what I have. And he just laughed, and we did a fist bump. But like, it was kind of awkward there for a moment. Like, I was not disrespecting him, but like kind of like, yeah, F you type thing. I don't know. It's kind of contentious at work right now. But anyway.
They didn't make you wear a mask?
No, I mean, everybody kept telling me to go home. They're like, go home. And I'm like, nah, can't afford it. I feel fine. I just sound like garbage. And they're like, yeah, you look like shit too. And I'm like, oh, thanks. You guys look awesome. So.
You could have just been like, hey, I look like you.
I had a lot of people, like, I'd come up and start talking. They're like, go away. Because it was right before the holiday break. Like, I don't blame them. I didn't want to get sick. But I got it. And, yeah. It was like a good 2 weeks. And then with the holidays and everything.
And then you had a wedding in there.
Yeah, wedding. That's when I think I got sick. And, yeah, it just was not so good.
But you're better now?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good now. So I've been actually, like, there was a point in time, like, I had a pretty big stack to read because I'm like, I have so much snot running out of my nose. I don't want to get it all over my book. So now I'm good. I'm reading. I
Should have just
am
gotten a bib.
functioning. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm functioning. Once in a while I got a bit of a cough, but it's been better. So,
That's good to hear.
yeah.
So that was the reason for our hiatus. We're
Yep.
still here. We'll be coming back.
Yep.
So the year ended, and there were a bunch of real big hits that we've been following for quite some time.
That have come to a close
Yeah.
at the end of the year.
Some of them have been running longer than others. Doomsday Clock and Tom King's Batman run were maybe running the exact same amount of time.
Some had more issues than others.
Yeah. One had 85, one had 12.
Yeah.
No judgment here.
Yeah. So what do you want to start with? Are we going to start with the big hitters, or are we going to start with the
We can
lesser?
start with the lesser.
Okay.
Just get them out of the way.
All right. So I wanna talk Guardians, because
All
this is something like you asked me what best comic of the decade and best comic of the year, and I don't remember if Guardians started this year or last year, and I'm not gonna put it on my top. But for me, this Kate's Guardians run started kind of weird, but really kind of brought me back into Guardians, if that makes sense.
Oh, really? It sort of did the opposite for me.
See, it got really weird at the end before they rebooted it, and I dropped off like quite a while ago. So when they brought it back, I was like, all right, I'm gonna hop back into this, because Guardians was one of the books. I picked up Swamp Thing, and I picked up Guardians of the Galaxy, because some dude at the shop is like, oh, you're looking for comics? And I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, you should pick up Guardians of the Galaxy. They're just bringing it back, and there's going to be a movie coming out. And I was like, oh, okay. And he kept badgering me about it, so then I finally bought an issue #1 of it and hopped on, and that and Swamp Thing, the new 52 Swamp Thing, was what brought me back in and got me buying a bunch of stuff. Some good, not so good.
Yeah. No, which was another thing, because when we were talking about our top 10 list, I had the same sort of notion with what made a good comic for the past decade. Those ones that get you back into it. And I had mentioned One Punch Man and Batman, Tom King's run. I guess it would be 50. I compiled it down. 50 was the one that really got me back into everything.
Issue 50, you're saying?
Yeah, issue
Yep.
50. The failed wedding that had people all up in arms, but I thought, because I wasn't invested, I thought it was amazing. And then going back to those first 50 got me really into it. And I could see how people were actually pissed off about it, because you had 2 years of this build up to this thing and had it just get smashed out from under you. But the question I had was, why were you questioning whether or not it was a good thing? Because we have both read more comics now in the last, 2 years probably, than maybe the entire time before that. 2-3 years. Than the rest of our lives. And you're like, hey, it's maybe not a good thing.
I feel like when you were asking comic of the year, I feel like I've went out and one, bought, or two, reread a lot of runs this year that I either had and enjoyed before, or were things you should read. I want to say Watchmen fell into this year for me. I think I finally got and read. It was either this year or very late last year that I actually had read it. And that came out a long time ago, but for me, I was late to the game as usual. And actually, I want to say it was within the past 2 years, because Doomsday Clock, you're like, if you're going to read that, you should read the original Watchmen. And I did. And then I went and picked up Doomsday Clock just to kind of find the periphery, one, or the parallels, one. Two, you were like, you should have read this years ago when I gave it to you. And I just never did. And I feel one, our comic reading has gone up because we're actually reading similar things, or I'm going back and reading things you've read, or vice versa. You know, you, me, or we're handing stuff together, and we're actually putting more time into taking the time and reading. For me, it's a great relaxing thing. That's my thing. It's a great escape from my day. But the question is like the comic industry now, like you and I both said, like there's, and I don't think it's ever really changed, but there's like a lot of shit. But I also feel like the selection of comics nowadays is more limited than what it used to be.
I think it's more limited because when I go into a shop, like there are tons of titles, and if you jump on Comixology,
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking like big two type things. Like I don't know, there's like a lot of niche stuff out there, but like maybe not the niche stuff I want. So then I go onto other titles like looking for something like Justice League. This new incarnation of Justice League Dark is cool, and I like it, and I like Tynion's writing. I like the art, but like the reason I got into Justice League Dark was they're like Swamp Thing, Hellblazer, or Constantine, and I was like, all right, don't care anybody else.
but they're still in there. And then
Yeah,
why does
yeah.
that criteria not last? Just because Wonder Woman's in there.
Well, I have a problem with Wonder Woman 1. 2, like, knowing where they're going now, some of the stuff I didn't enjoy at the time, and I don't see any point in it. It didn't really further the story at all or anything. And they're not coming back around. Like, I've talked about it with you off the cast, but like them not addressing the fact that they took the demon blood out of Constantine is vexing to say the least to me, because that is a pretty big thing that is Constantine now.
But that just means it's a plot thread that's still there in the future. Because there's another thing. You read all the Justice League Dark, the first one, back to back.
Yep.
You pretty much read it straight through. So you
Yep.
had the entire story there for you.
Yep.
You weren't waiting for everything to drain out. They're like on
Yeah.
issue 15 right now. And that happened in 6 or 7.
Yeah, I don't know. And that's the thing too. Like in this world of reboots and resets and all this shit, like Justice League is coming to an end. And I know you said Justice League Dark is going to keep going, but I don't know what the motivation to keep it going is necessarily.
To have a Justice League Dark title.
I get that. I've watched a lot of stuff I really enjoy end just for the sake, not the sake of ending, but because of the sales. So I don't know. I don't pay attention to it until they say, yeah, we canceled this because of sales. And I'm like, or the writer's gonna like, I enjoyed this run of Guardians of the Galaxy. I did not like the beginning with all these different characters, but I liked how the original Guardians came. And this is going to be controversial because the original Guardians aren't what the original Guardians are to me. But like when I got into it, when what's his name? Who's doing Superman right now?
Bendis?
Yeah, when Bendis did Guardians, like Bendis's Guardians for me, again, that was my starting point. So like the beginning of this kind of sucked for me, but like to see it all come to fruition, and now you have the main Guardians back together for the most part, like I'm pumped. And I say original in quotes because
They're not the true originals.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure on a podcast somewhere I heard, this lineup that they started with was more of the quote-unquote original. And I like Peter Quill. He's cool, but like, this might be controversial. I like Rocket and Groot. I really enjoyed the fact that Groot could actually talk, even though the I Am Groots and Rocket banter in the previous stuff was cool, but it kind of added and changed and added depth to Groot. I know there's a lot of stuff that happened in, Infinity War?
Yeah.
That I don't know about.
Infinity Wars.
Like, I'm pretty sure I own all of it, and I'm trying to get back up on it.
Wait, you have it all? And you didn't read it?
I'm pretty sure, because there was at one point I was just, like, still buying comics and not reading them, because I was dumb. And like the guy, I'd say like, hey, I want to cancel this, and I'd still get like 12 issues.
So he just didn't listen to you?
I don't know, like he did and he didn't. I think I held on to Guardians because I was like, I'll get to it at some point someday. But like I thought it was pretty, like the ending was pretty cool. Like this is not a monumental story, but I thought it was a cool story. Throwing Quill's father back into the mix.
And this is like his actual father, like that holds more true to who Peter Quill's father is, as opposed to the movie where he's a planet that goes around banging people from everywhere.
Yeah, I don't really understand that because at least in Bendis's run, his father was like a royal president, I don't know what you want to call him, of a planet, and that holds more true to this. Obviously, he's been corrupted. I liked the whole idea, the rocket and the Gundam suit. I thought
that was my favorite part about the whole thing. And then he goes into Groot, or Groot turns himself into a Gundam ship.
Yep. I thought that was like really fucking cool. The end of 11, that you see the picture on the first page of 12, but like Rocket like dragging the gun, walking into pretty much Doom. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, it was good. I should say the faith. Apparently this is the Faithless arc, 6 of 6. So I thought that was good. I could have done without like when Ghost Rider was on there and Bill, and they're still in this stuff. But
well,
like
Ghost Rider shows up here at the end, when like right when they're going into the
hospital.
Yeah, to see Rocket Raccoon.
Yep.
But Ghost Rider hasn't been in this since like issue 4. He goes and joins the Black Stars or whoever.
Yeah.
And then just fucks off to go be part of the Ghost Rider wars.
Yep. And then for Quill's dad to show up and Thanos is there, you know, there's obviously a lot about that because Thanos is quote unquote dead, and I don't know what book I was reading that was a thing. Was that this though? When they were like looking for him?
Yeah, Thanos died at the beginning of this,
Yeah.
and his head was decapitated, maybe.
Yep. But then there
And
was supposedly a new one.
Yeah, well, that's what they were trying to stop, and they thought Gamora was going to become it, but it ended up being Thanos' brother, whoever that guy was.
Yep.
And the Thanos here in this one is the Thanos in the future of this
Yep.
timeline.
Yep.
So I don't get why Quill's dad was necessarily in the Church of Truth. Like, they weren't necessarily doing anything wrong. They were trying to stop Thanos, which is what everybody in every Guardians book and any Marvel comic book, when Thanos shows up, is they're trying to stop him. And it sounded as if they had a fail-proof way to do it, and by stopping him from doing that, they just ensured Thanos will win in the end.
Yeah, I think they were just more concerned in how he was gonna stop Thanos, the brainwashing and shit like that.
But you stopped Thanos and saved the universe. Shouldn't that be good enough?
Like I said, man, like this isn't a foolproof story. And I'm not even saying it's like great literature, but there's some pretty cool page turns that I enjoyed,
especially in this issue.
Yeah, this issue was really good, and I felt like it buttoned everything up and brought the original Guardians, the quote unquote original Guardians, back together, and they're gonna move forward with, I can't remember who's writing it, but I was kind of excited to see who it was. Does it say?
Alan Ewing? Or?
Yeah, Al Ewing. And it looks like more of the team that I enjoy.
But they got new people, new members, new threats, same big cosmic action.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
I can't be wrong. I'm reading the solicitation preview.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I think this may be more my speed again. I don't know. There's some, like, the double page of Silver Surfer's pretty cool. Like, the art is definitely, I'm digging it.
Well, it's different art styles from different stories, I assume,
Yeah.
that occurred.
Yeah.
Like this Cosmic Ghost Rider one, that definitely is from the Cosmic Ghost Rider arc that pretty sure Kate's had done.
Yep.
Which was awesome. I gotta hook you up with that at some point. It was a great read. Like, all these people end up fighting the Cosmic Ghost Rider. I don't think Death was so much involved in it. And the Silver Surfer one, that's the Silver Surfer Black that Kate's also had done, which I still haven't read yet. But then I don't know about those other two that are on there, like what those correlate with. Well, this one looks like some of the stuff had happened. Like,
is one of them Miracle Man? No.
Isn't
Or it's not
that
him.
different franchise?
No. Yeah. No. No. Is it Starman? Fuck. I can't remember his name, but yeah, forget it.
Okay. Well, this is I'm pretty sure that's when Cosmic Ghost Rider became the Herald of Galactus. But whenever Hulk is Old Man Hulk and he's serving Thanos, I don't know. I didn't know if this was when he was saying, because he said if Rocket's like, oh, did I miss anything cool in the past year? Like, so this story took place before all these stories took place, or are these like hypothetical adventures they went on? Because I have no clue what this.
Well, I'm wondering because Kate's was doing a lot of different stuff, right? Maybe there's more interweaving than what we remember or than what we read. Like you said, some of that stuff is from Cosmic Ghost Rider. You read that, well, so you recognized it, right?
Yeah.
maybe it's a comment on everything Kate's had done for the year.
But this stuff happened. That Ghost Rider thing happened in 2008 or 18. Yeah.
Oh.
And
but this is 12 issues. Did it start in January? I don't think it did.
Guardians or
yeah, Guardians. I want to say it started in 2018. I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, that'd have to be something to look up. But I really, as far as like the overall plot, I didn't really care for it too much. I did really enjoy Rocket though, coming back, his entire story arc. Because I know you have been very confused about why he was all exiled from the planet, or exiled from the team, which is what it sort of made it sound as if was happening until you found out he was sick and he was dying. And then when you actually see him for the first time, that was a huge gut punch. Pretty much everything with Rocket was like spot on. He's kind of the central protagonist of this arc. I liked him, how he came around. He was all grumpy and saying how he didn't need anybody, but then at the end he's willing to sacrifice himself to save everyone, even though he just wants to lay down and die. And he realizes that his life isn't necessarily his own. It belongs to everybody he's with. And he was willing to fight for them to keep that alive. But it is kind of cool that they're just going to like heal him up, and Rocket's totally cool. So then nobody actually ever dies in comics. They get real close to that edge to get you hooked, and then they reverse it. But at least they added some depth to Rocket's character, because at least from the movies, he always seems like an asshole who doesn't care anyone but has a huge heart, and he doesn't let on too much. But in this one, it seems that he might be getting rid of some of his attitude towards the team.
Well, and the other thing to say too is like you kind of see that transformation, because at first when they first go and find him, he's like, "Nah, go away. Like, I hid myself from you guys. I didn't want you to see me like this." Like you said, the transformation of him, and I think that was really just this Faithless arc. The first arc was a lot of other random stuff that I don't necessarily remember as much. So maybe when I say I really enjoyed it. It kind of brought me back was maybe this 6-issue Faithless arc, and you were right, it did come out in March of 2019, so they must have shoehorned a bunch of them in or something.
So you're jumping on for the next arc of Guardians?
I am. I enjoy the Guardians as long as Marvel doesn't boot up 50 more X-Men tie-ins. I should be able to afford it. I know there's more coming.
They're making a Wolverine one.
I know.
I had heard there was some other ones, but it seems like they're trying to stretch the. They're putting too much content out there to force the readers who are actually invested in the universe they've built, that it doesn't seem sustainable in the long run for them. So they're going to not have sales and have to cut stuff when they could have just been putting all of these stories and been weaving a much like tighter, cohesive story and plot, as opposed to branching out into 1,000 different things. Unless some of those that are coming out are going to be minis.
So here's what I'm going to say about it. Because due to the end of the year and the one Wednesday landing on Christmas, the week before Christmas was an insane release week for comics in general. And it seemed like everything I wanted fell on that day, including Batman Last Night on Earth, the last issue of Doomsday Clock, which were more expensive books. There was just an assload of shit.
Well, no, I just felt real bad for you because all the X-Men books also landed on that day.
So let me indulge a little bit further. Or divulge. So I picked up everything. I'm like, fuck it. The week before, I had picked up New Mutants #1. It hadn't arrived yet, and then on that off week, I'm like, because nothing came out, I'm like, I'm going to order 2, 3, and 4 and a different book that I missed ordering the week prior. And so I was swamped with X-Men books this past week. And they all are like, oh, this is a Dawn of X tie-in. I don't think you need to read any of them other than probably the main X-Men title. Now, they do crazy stuff, like, spoiler alert, in X-Force in the first issue, Xavier's dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about that a little bit, I think.
I thought you were doing spoilers for, like, the new stuff.
No,
the present.
for you. But, like, I got to the end of these issues, #4s, and I'm just like, these are all standalone stories, and yes, they all happen on Krakoa, and yes, they all are dealing with these mutants getting their society up and running, and the opposition they are facing from the human side of things, and these nations that do not want to identify Krakoa as a independent nation, and thus they're not getting the medicine. And they're obviously pissed because they took a shot at Xavier and succeeded. But, like, there's not really any intermingling, and I'm very tempted to drop probably 2 of them. One being New Mutants, because I don't care about these characters. I like Marauders. I like the characters. I love X-Force. I like the main X title.
Excalibur.
That's the one I'm thinking about dropping, but I'm really curious about this whole Apocalypse thing. And what's her name? That's frozen right now.
Rogue?
Yeah. I'm like somewhat, and I really like Jubilee too. I'm somewhat invested in that one, but I am not a big fan of Captain Britain and like that whole fucking bullshit and this whole like 2 realms thing, which I know was something that was pretty big in X-Men years ago and apparently is a very long-standing thing. I'm not a fan of it.
Dude, it's all new to me.
Yeah.
It's weird.
No, it's new to me, but like I kind of had to go back and be like, what the fuck? So you go on some deep dives and like that's apparently something that was done, and at the time when they did it, it was very cool and very well received. And maybe because I don't know about it, I'm not getting it. How cool it is, but like my main thing is like you now have Apocalypse, who's known as a symbol. He wants to be known as a symbol, so that interests me. And
do you have any clue how to pronounce that?
Fuck no. What the fuck is he doing? Like,
is that the one with the islands fucking and he's got his son doing weird stuff? Because that's what was tripping me out. Or did that happen in New Dawn or Dawn of X?
The main X title?
Yeah.
No. I think that's the one. It's either that one or it's Am I getting them all? There's Marauders, there's Excalibur,
there's Fallen Angels.
That's the one.
But it didn't happen in that one.
No.
Fallen Angels has a weird art style.
Yep. Fallen Angels is about yeah, that's an interesting one. That's excuse me. That one's really interesting because if you finish the first X-Force and Betsy Braddock and what's her name, the Wolverine type chick, that's them.
X-23.
Yeah, that's them two in there, and that is like, they're doing some weird stuff with that, and the fact that her kid was taken / killed, so that whole thing. Anyway, I don't know. I'm really on the fence about it. Like, I want the main X-Men title, X-Men or the Dawn of X, because that I'm invested in Hickman and his writing, and by far that book stands out to me the most. I really like Fallen Angels because of the subject matter. I really like X-Force. The other ones I'm kind of on the fence about. And I know I really was like into the Emma Frost, Marauders, like that whole thing. And I still think it's pretty cool because they brought some people. They're bringing people back from the dead now, which we found out about in House and Powers. But like, that's getting interesting too because now in Marauders you have the White Queen and the Black King and other people, and they used to be foes, but now they're working together, and it's kind of interesting to see that dynamic.
It's a tentative alliance until it's a fan.
But at the same time, like, the book just doesn't seem to be moving like some of the other ones.
Kind of funny considering it's all about pirates and high sea tales.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of what interests me in it. Like, that's what kind of sold me in the Emma Frost thing and the whole the trading company and all that shit. It's just not moving. Like, a lot of these, not a lot, but some of these books, it's like, get to the point. Like, we're doing a lot of exposition and a lot of like bullshit stuff, like the islands fucking. Like, that's obviously going to be something that's important, but like, it's too drawn out. It's not happening fast enough. I felt like House and Powers, maybe it was a week by week thing, and that's why it seemed that way. But like, that book moved. Like, they had very clear direction of where they were going and what they needed to accomplish within, was it like 3 months or something like that? Like, every week. So, I don't know. But I'm really on the fence about some of that stuff.
There might be a difference though between a Max series limited to 12 issues versus an ongoing monthly thing that can go on indefinitely until either sales diminish or the creators and editors and the higher ups are deciding they want to go on a completely different path and they just scrap everything.
Yeah, my thing is did they have a clear path when they started?
With Hawks and Pox, yeah. And now they probably have outlines for stuff. But that was one of the things I wanted to talk about with the Batman run, with King's Batman run. Like, you compared to like some of the other stuff, I guess we'll jump around.
All right.
Cause he did Vision, he did Miracle Man, Mr. Miracle. He did Omega Man, and those were all 12 issues,
Yep.
and they were mind blowing, all three of them. But it was a very tight script that he had to do. He only had 12 issues to tell the story he wanted to tell, and I don't think there was filler in any of that. It was all, each issue had big drops, big questions that needed to be answered. You were wanting more. No word felt unnecessary. No panel was like extraneous. It was, everything was there that needed to be there. But with like Batman, there were a lot of times where, at least in the last 25-ish, 35, after the wedding issue, where there was like lulls, where like you would pick up an issue, and that's just because those first 50 I was able to read back to back, so I wasn't necessarily able to catch the lulls as much. I know people were complaining about the war of jokes and riddles, that it just kept going and going and going and going, and they wanted it to end, but when I was reading it back to back, it was fantastic. But then those last 20, 35 issues, like the whole nightmare thing, well, yeah, parts of it was cool. It was kind of confusing,
It
and
was
same,
very drawn out.
yeah, and same with the City of Bane stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it just kept going and going, and
Well,
it didn't make sense. Kind of forgot what the stakes were.
but not only that, but now, don't you think, now that you know where it ended, like, you look back and you're like, we didn't need half that stuff
Oh yeah,
to
that's what
really tell the story.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there were very good things in there. Like some panels that were awesome. Alfred getting killed was devastating. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff in there that I don't know, could have been scrapped. It's filler. So I don't know if that same sort of shit's happening with. I'm assuming it's gonna happen with the X-Men titles,
Yeah.
and just every ongoing series in general, there's going to be these huge lulls in what you're actually anticipating and wanting, because they have 18 pages, 22 pages to tell a story. And like comics, unfortunately, are like a soap opera. And they want to give you just enough to scratch that itch, but then also leave you wanting more without actually ever getting to the punchline or getting to the big mic drop. And when they do, it's like a year build up, and then they finally hit you with it.
Does it help or hurt the industry? Because, like, I mean, the one thing that sticks out to in my mind in the last 10 issues of Batman King's Run, like, he gets left in the pit, right? He climbs out, and then you have the rebuilding of the relationship between him and Selena, because, you know, he's got to train back up, and then he's gonna go kick ass because Alfred's dead and all this shit. But, like, that whole building back up and working back up to it, like, I felt could have been one issue instead of like 3 or 4.
But there was other stuff going on. They were flashing back to Gotham City.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't. It was enjoyable reading, but like looking back and where it ended, and I don't know, I was kind of disappointed with the last issue.
Okay, why?
Because it starts with the whole thing being done and over.
Oh, you didn't like that?
And then it flashes back to what's happening, and then forward and back and forward and back. And especially with the last page of 84, oh, I guess it doesn't flash, or it doesn't start flash or forward, I guess. You're right, now that you opened it up. But like Okay, so it's basically a recap of the last issue, the previous issue, 84, on the first page. And then the next page, it's something completely irrelevant.
But this is the first page of 84 too.
Is it the first page or the last page, 84?
It's the first page of 84.
Okay.
Because 84 did some trippy ass shit. It starts now, and then it goes earlier, and then it goes earlier still, and then earlier still, and earlier still.
And then it comes back.
Like, you gotta read the whole thing backwards to get to the point, which I thought was pretty fucking awesome. I read it the whole way through, and, like, got to the end, and I was like, oh, shit. I see what he's doing here. And then I read it all the way backwards, and yeah, it's pretty fucked up what the Thomas Wayne of that other reality went through to get to here. Like, his wife, Martha, is the Joker?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And I didn't catch it the first time reading through it, and, like, who killed Selena. It was like, oh shit, the Joker killed it. And then it's like reading through it, it's like, wait a minute. And then going back through the whole time, like, oh yeah, fuck. That was his wife who became the Joker. That's fucking insane just because Bruce died.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like this. At least on the last one here, I did not like the forward and backward. I know we had kind of talked about the sports allegories. I will say the fighting and then the breaks in between, that was kind of cool. Just seeing everything again, going back and forth. But the bar scene kind of just, I don't know, that bothered me.
Yeah, I don't know. The bar scene doesn't sit that ill with me. The guy that he's talking to just seems random. I wasn't sure if he was supposed to be somebody. But it was a kind of cheapish way to put a metaphor for the entire concept of what Batman went through for the last 4 years in King's Run. Which is what King, I don't know, he did it in that Swamp Thing too, where instead of like, he just uses like a sports analogy to put all the pieces together, which I guess if sports is your thing, that's cool. And I think sports is kind of like a big example, like similar to comics, where there's a lot of filler before the actual action happens, which is maybe necessary. But I know whenever I watch sports, whenever it's on the TV and like everyone's super hyped over somebody missing a shot or getting a touchdown, but it was just like, or a goal, but it's a very lackluster play and there are no real stakes to it. But when you come down to that last 5 seconds and the team has to get this point and it looks impossible that it's even going to occur, and they somehow manage to do it, some insane feat of sportsmanship and athleticism that allows them to achieve victory, and you can actually feel that energy even as a person who doesn't give a shit about any of the teams playing, and you can recognize how awesome that was. If sports was always like that, would the sports actually be fun? Like, if you had those high notes all the time, would it be as good?
That's a good point.
And in comics, like, yeah, you definitely don't want filler, but you also don't just want fluff to fill pages to get the word count.
I mean, there's a difference between filler and, like you just said, though, like, just fluffing some stuff out. I don't know. Maybe I don't have as good of an understanding of this run either. You know, I kind of, hopped on later in the game. I don't know. At the end, I literally texted you, and I'm like, did you read it? And you're like, yup. I'm like, are they married? Like, did they? Are they? I don't think they officially got married, but they're together again. Is that?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was it was
a pretty good cop out.
Like a cop out entirely, where it's like, yeah, they're married and their minds, but then it brings up to the question of whether that's legally binding and if you actually have to get married in a church and get marriage things done by the court to actually be married, or if you can just say you're married and you're going to be together forever. But it seemed like that's what everybody wanted, and King was going to do that anyway. I'm pretty sure that was the whole point of this round, is like, yeah, once they do actually get together, it'll be amazing. Which you can see in this thing, when they're together as a team doing shit, it's like some of the best Batman you can read. Like, just the banter between them, and just the fact that Bruce, like, has been so guarded his whole life, but now he actually is relying on somebody, and not somebody, like, because he has Barbara and Dick and Damian and Tim.
That's what I was just gonna ask
but
you.
But they aren't on the same level as him. They never have been and never will be. Like, they can hold their own, but at the end of the day, Batman's always going to be the one who saves them.
Well, and the other big thing with Selina, in my opinion, is she walks both sides of the fence, whereas Batman stands for, I want to say, truth, justice, and the American way, but that's Superman. But, like, Selina can still, and she has gone either way. And I think that's an interesting dynamic that Dick, Damian, Barbara, etc., have not. Well, maybe Jason Todd a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's the other one. No, yeah, because he becomes a Red Hood and actually does kill people.
Yeah, but
he's still a good guy.
When they're with Batman, like, they do whatever Batman does. There may be, like, some questioning of Batman or Bruce, however you want to say it, but, like, Selina's just like, yeah, fuck you, I'm doing what I want.
Yeah,
which is an interesting concept and dynamic that I've enjoyed.
Well, this page right here shows it, where they're running through the rain, they're talking about getting married, and Selina, Catwoman, just stops, and Batman continues running, and he noticed that she has stopped. If it was anybody else, I don't think Batman would have stopped. He would have just kept going. But he went back and waited for her. Like, as you're saying, she's
independent.
Yeah.
Like, she's not tied down. Well, I mean, she is, but, like, they're two independent characters, whereas, like, Bruce's kids, you know, in the case of Damian or Dick, everybody else is like, yeah, we go along with it. You know, I'm just thinking back, like, we always wanted to do Detective Comics 1000, but, like, the family photo, like, Bruce says, hey, come here, and they all come. Like, there's no question, you don't argue with it, you show up. And I think Selina is kind of like, maybe it's what he aspires to be a little bit. You know, live on the edge a little bit. Like you said, wait, stop. Don't just do everything Bruce wants to do.
Yeah. Because I don't know if they actually allow him to be a better version of himself than he already is. But with Selina, he kind of does seem to be a more rounded character, because all the other people are sidekicks, and in this thing, which is like the same as a metaphor for a marriage, you're equals, you're partners, not one's not subservient to the other.
Well, and I was just gonna say too, you know, a sidekick is more almost like a kid, as opposed to, like you said, a significant other. You know, there's a certain dynamic there. You're not exactly the same, and you don't have an authority over that person. If you do, that's not really a relationship anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
And then the other thing with sidekicks, especially in Batman's, from Batman's perspective, the only reason he has a kid sidekick is he's trying to preserve his innocence. Because Batman is cynical and sees only hard edges, black and white, but the kid is able to expand his vision and see things. Like, there is still joy in the world, but you maybe have to be untainted from it, which is kind of what always happens to the kids. Is they lose that joy of being a kid
when you become an adult.
Yeah, or just by being around Batman.
Oh,
and like
yeah,
and like
yeah.
becoming an adult. Yeah, cuz like all the people when they become adults, they're pretty fucking jaded. But Damian's still pretty he's like a smart ass. When he's with Jonathan Kent during those like super whatever that's called. I forgot what the Super Sons.
Yep.
Like Damian's allowed to be a kid. Like he's got those moments where you can definitely see he's a kid, but in almost all the Batman centric runs where he's pretty much just a mini Batman.
Yeah, I think there's some childish aspects to him, but yeah, you're right. I don't know. It's definitely an interesting dynamic. And now that we kind of talked about it, the Bat and Cat book might be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for it.
So what? Oh no, go ahead.
And I did feel like this didn't have the same sort of like awesome ending as Doomsday Clock, but it felt like the fitting ending for this run. Like it closed the book. It wasn't like jarring or anything. It was like, yeah, that's the way it was supposed to end. It's good.
So, which was the groundbreaking change Batman Forever moment? Alfred dying or them actually being together in the end?
It maybe didn't happen.
What do you mean, Alfred?
No,
Or this?
the groundbreaking thing maybe didn't happen. Because that was... King said he was going to do a groundbreaking thing, and DC had said that he can do that. And then within a couple weeks after that, the announcement came that his run was getting cut to 85 and that the Bat and Cat was going to be coming out. So DC might have been totally cool with it, but then they also have Warner Brothers in the picture.
Okay.
Is one theory. Because Alfred has died before?
Yeah.
And yeah, Batman marrying Catwoman is pretty crazy, but like...
They didn't actually really get married either.
Yeah, well, like they're together, but then I saw a preview picture for Tinian's new run on Batman, and it's got the Rogues Gallery, it's got Joker, the Riddler, 2 other people, and then Catwoman's on there too.
Oh.
So I don't know if that means that she's already gone back to the to the enemies, or like to the Rogues Gallery side, or if she's going to be still on Bruce's team, or how that works out.
Did you enjoy the epilogue?
Meh.
I think the art's super cool.
Oh no, the art's cool. You sounded really excited though, and I was gonna wonder what you had gleaned from this that I missed. That was
the art.
Oh, it's just the art.
Yep, I'm super excited for the art.
Oh no, the art's sick, but
yep,
I was going like story stuff because it was Tinian.
I didn't really understand it, other than the Joker's back. I'm pretty pumped. You said that the Riddler's on there. What about the Court of the Owls? Are they coming back?
They can't not come back.
I know.
I love a staple now of the Batman mythos.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We talked about. I sent you an article earlier. We'll just kind of gloss over it, but talking about how Scott Snyder's new 52 Batman run might be. What did it say? Like a historical Batman
it's like
run,
a cornerstone
Batman run. And I know we've talked about there's a lot of hate for like 0 Year and when Gordon became Batman for a minute.
The coolest fucking part of that, fucking James Gordon in a goddamn mech suit.
I mean, I think in the world of comics and fanboys, we're pretty open-minded. Like, we'll take whatever we can get. You want to put Batman or Swamp Thing in a Batman suit? I'll take a ride.
That would be sick.
I'm pretty easygoing. I might be upset and I might, bitch about stuff. Like I'm still kind of pissed about the Demon Blood being gone on a Constantine. I'll bring it up again.
Well, you're pretty pissed about Wonder Woman, so I don't know how open-minded you are.
Well, no, but I'm still reading it. See, I'll still read it. I'll go with it.
But read it, but every time you see her, you want to tear her out of the page.
I'm just expressing my opinion. But anyway, I said, what did I say? I said something, and you were like, well, it got you, the Batman hater of all time, to actually like Batman. And I cited, I'm like, the Court of Owls is fucking badass. Like, that sucked me in. And it's a fucking owl. It's a dude in an owl mask. Well, a bunch of dudes in an owl mask. But, like, that whole thing was cool. There was some cool book tourney things that I was all excited about, and it was a death in the family. There was that thing in there, and it was a death in the family or death of the family. Alfred dies there.
Yeah, no, Alfred. So
yeah,
it's
he
not
dies a lot.
Alfred.
He's also ripped to the gills on fine cocaine.
Yeah. That.
I gotta give you that. There was like 5 panels in that book I wanted to send you.
Yeah, no, it was just you sent me that article, and you were saying that something about they must just ignore the haters for it to be a good book. And you were a Batman hater for life, and then
yeah, I was, and then like all of a sudden I saw the Court of the Owls mask, and I'm like, oh, there's fucking owls in there. I like owls. Let me check this shit out. And I caught a lot of shit. I hit it at the bottom of my stack, and you're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Nothing. Don't worry about it." You're like, "You got fucking Batman." And then I hopped on quite a bit. I mean, I've gone back and read Dark Knight. Was it Dark Knight Returns? Is that the one?
The Frank Miller one.
Frank Miller one, The Broken Mirror, like a bunch of different stuff. Hopped on Detective for a while. Hopped on King's Run. Justice
Curse
League,
of the White Knight.
Curse of the White Knight. Oh, that was good. A lot of good stuff. I also think at some point too, you gave me one of the trades for Tom King because you're like, Swamp Thing's in here. I know it's Batman, but just read it. And I ended up reading the whole trade instead of just the one issue with Swamp Thing, and you know.
That was because you were jonesing for some Swamp Thing. He hadn't been in that was before Justice League Dark came out.
Yeah, and that was when I was like, oh, I'm going to go buy all these really old Swamp Things that aren't in trades, and now I know why they're not in trades.
Oh, really? They're that good?
I mean... All right, so let me just make a commentary. Like, we talk about how comics nowadays pussyfoot around, like, controversial topics. There was a point, and you could see it going there, where I think what's his name, Vedic maybe, Swamp Thing was gonna meet Jesus.
Yeah,
that was like a thing, and you could see it happening, and at some point I had to go on Wikipedia. Vertigo/DC's like, nope. And he was cut from the run, and it ended-ish. But you could tell he was pissed. Because it was just like, done. And then the next thing started, and it was in a completely different place. Because, like, he was traveling all throughout time. And it was really cool. And you could tell, like, he's going back further and further in time. And it was going there, and then they just like bloop, pull the plug. Nope, you're not doing that. And that was like the late 80s. I mean, it's just kind of interesting.
Wasn't there something about that in that Gaiman one? Like, I thought he ended up meeting somebody. Like there's a Gaiman Swamp Thing.
Yep.
I thought they talked about it in there, about he was supposed to meet Jesus.
Yep. I think there was there was a story, but that came out after. That annual is after that run. Is that the Gaiman one that what's his name drew?
Mignola.
Yeah, that he drew.
Well, penciled.
Yeah, you really can't even tell.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only reason.
It was
the only reason I got. It was like the two greatest fucking comic book creators coming together to do Swamp Thing, and then Gaiman didn't really get to flex his muscles. I didn't feel, and that was probably early in Mignola's career before he had developed his own personal style. But
I really was picturing Swamp Thing as like a Hellboy type character.
yeah.
That'd be cool if he did that. Maybe we can meet him someday and I can be like, can you sketch me a Swamp Thing?
Oh, that would be sweet.
It would be.
I don't know if he does, if he goes to cons or anything.
Yeah.
Could just go to his house.
Where does he live?
It was on the internet. I knew for a while where he lived.
Is it in the U.S.?
Yeah.
All right. Road trip.
And Gaiman lives in Wisconsin, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Or
I know-
had for
I know
a
he
while.
had, because you could tell. Well, we're from Wisconsin, so you can tell. Like, I'm reading some of the books. I'm like, oh,
No, American
okay.
Gods, like all
There's
takes
that.
place up heavily in the
There's
Midwest.
that, but I'm pretty sure one of the short story books I have too. There's some mentions of some Midwestern towns that I was familiar with, but I don't.
Remember what?
Yeah, I can't like call something specifically. I still haven't finished that. I got maybe like 5 more short stories to read. There's so much to fucking read, man.
Yeah. What do you? You're excited about the Norse mythology book coming from Dark Horse?
I don't know.
Because you were talking pretty highly of that book.
I loved that book. That book sits above American Gods for me.
Oh shit.
I really liked American Gods. I really liked what was that other one?
Anansi Boys.
Well, that was really good too, and
Good Omens.
Good Omens was really awesome as well. But that, and I gotta get that back. You gotta read that. That Norse mythology
I don't
book.
think I have it.
No, you don't.
Yeah, your mom has it.
Yeah, I gotta get it back so you can read it. I
should
thought she
probably-
was like legit going to read it quick, and she never did.
I should probably just go buy it.
No,
No, I shouldn't buy it? Okay.
no, you should. You should. I don't think I've ever said this, but like I love mythology. Like I bought some book, a very dry book of like all this Greek mythology. Like I find that stuff fascinating as hell. The Odyssey movie, I'll fight you to the death, is like the greatest movie ever. Fucking love that movie. I've seen that probably like 30 times. Love it, love it, love it. It's so bad. It's so awesome. Watched a lot of Hercules as a kid. The Kevin Sorbo on TV, the real live action. There was some sort of a mythology show I found on Hulu. Fucking love mythology. The one thing I never really knew about or read about was Norse mythology. And like reading that book and reading like the intro and like kind of how he got into it and reading those stories like really fueled a passion for me for mythology again, and actually sent me buying the Greek mythology book and like reading about all these different things. I love it. It's interesting to me how societies write these stories and Gaiman's take on these stories. Like, there's comedy, there's tragedy, there's like fucking hilarious moments, like a bird flying through the sky, shitting all over the guy following him, and then I won't make any spoilers, but there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of like badass fights. You got just like a lot of really cool shit. And you can see Well, I mean, you got your Odin, your Loki, your Thor, like that sort of stuff, but like a lot of shit like I didn't even know about. It's amazing. With that said, it would be cool to see pictures with it, but I'm also on the boat like, you ever listen to like a radio show or really like a radio show and you have like a picture of what these people and their voices look like?
Oh yeah, that's why I never actually looked at half the bands that we listened to in
And
high
then
school.
you look at them and you're like, what the fuck? That's not how I pictured you. And it almost like ruins it a little bit. Like, I have very vivid pictures in my head of these stories that I'm not doing a very good job like conveying to you to like get you to buy it. But I have very vivid pictures in my head of like, they don't say it's Thor, but like a very, very strong man rowing a boat really fast, and like these dwarves building these axes, or like the story of how Loki gets put in a cave, and like there's just all this really cool shit. Um, I don't know if I want it illustrated for me because like I have this connection with this book and these pictures in my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Unless they got the right artist.
See, and that's why like when I was texting you, I'm like, I don't I don't know. Like I kind of want to see it and I kind of don't.
It might be one of those things where you wait for the trade to come out and flip through it and see if it's worth it.
Well,
or the first issue of
I kept wanting to do that with American Gods, and they're all sealed in plastic.
Nah, you could just
Download it.
yeah,
Yeah.
or do the piratey thing and just scope it out.
Yeah.
Not read it, just look at the pictures.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like,
Or look up previews.
it's kind of like, I've said this before too. Like, why watch the movie when you read the book?
Sometimes the movie's better.
Give me an example.
Watchmen.
You like the movie better than the book?
Yeah. The ending. The ending made more sense.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Well, now I understand the ending, but at the time it was kind of like, well, that didn't make sense. Like, there's just randomly aliens here, and it wasn't set up or anything, but Manhattan was. And then the movie had Manhattan being the villain. I was like, oh yeah, that kind of makes more sense. But I was a newbie at comic theory then
Yeah.
and writing styles, and I didn't understand all the deep nuances that Alan Moore was going for with that. Blah blah blah.
See, that's how I feel. Like, I feel you have a very good understanding of that, and I'm just sitting here like, I thought it was pretty fucking cool. But no, I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of shit. Like, were they doing a live action TV show of a Warhammer thing? Eisenhorn, right? You sent me something about that, and you're like, dude, you should be like happy about this, and I'm like, I don't know, because like I've read these books and like connected with these characters. I have visions of them. I know what each character looks like. Like I mean, there's pictures on the cover, but I have very specific ideas of like the weird, especially in like a novel. Like it's one thing if you're reading a short story, but like if you're reading a novel, and especially like a novel series, like you spend a lot of time with these characters. Like you know their weird little ticks and their weird nuances, and they like fucking jitter their head, or you know what really makes them tick, which is one of the things I really like about reading in that abstract world of just words. Because let's face it, there's a difference between writing a comic book and having these visuals to help enhance the words versus trying to create all these words that then spark an image in your head and can your imagination enhances the words on the page. Not that that doesn't happen in comic books, but like it's a completely different thing. And that's why, like, for me, You want to make a Batman movie? You want to make a Swamp Thing movie? Please do that. You want to make...
Well, they got a TV show
I know,
that you
and I
still
still
haven't
haven't
watched.
watched it. I still haven't watched it. But, like...
You were super jazzed for it.
You already know what Batman looks like. So you can get pissed off about what suit they use or the fact that Ben Affleck was Batman or whatever. You can get pissed about different things. But, like, at the end of the day, like, he looks like Batman. Like, you can't argue that. The suit is the Batman suit. Whether they use the old Adam West suit or some new jacked up suit. Batman's Batman. It's already drawn for you. You don't really get to imagine what Batman looks like. It's a given. Versus, like, this Norse mythology or even American Gods. I mean, they did a comic book about that. I'm like, all right, I have, like, pictures in my head of what these people looked like, how they acted. I don't know. And especially if you have, like, a good writer, you know, I'm sure we've both read shitty novels where it's like, all right, well, I'm not connected with this at all, or I don't care about the characters. We've read shitty comic books like that. But, so maybe that stuff's more for movies. Maybe it's better in movies then, too.
But you would never have been introduced to The Witcher if you had never
No,
watched the
you're
show.
right. You're
and
right.
Now you're sitting here thinking maybe the books would be the way to go.
No, I know the books are the way to go. I've already read reviews and like people are pissed off at the show because it makes sense how they did it. But in the books, like, for one, it started out as a short story series in a magazine. Okay, so there's I think 6 or 7 novels, 2 of which are a collection of short stories. And then you finally get into the main thing. So this series is trying to, and maybe they should have just said fuck the short stories, but it's trying to do that to kind of get The Witcher where he needs to be. But they also had to introduce, like, a very key character that he meets later. Otherwise, you have this series that's not really going to go anywhere. And then all of a sudden down the road, you're going to meet this very important character, and then you're going to be pissed off like, well, why the fuck didn't you do that in the beginning? Because not everybody's going to read the book.
Right. But there's also ways to do it in storytelling where you start the story where it is the most interesting, and then once you have to meet this character, you throw in some, like, a filler episode or have it being interwoven into the story to get to that point for that character's importance actually makes sense.
Here's my criticism of the TV show. They're interweaving.
Oh, okay.
It's fucked up. Like,
Confusing?
there was a... Yeah. Like, you don't know what's a flashback and what's real time other than, like... Spoiler alert, I don't know. Someone dies in the beginning. Not a key character, but, like, a pretty important queen. Okay? She dies in the beginning, which sets forth a whole set of events for her granddaughter, who is a very, very key character down the road. So, you got Sir Geralt, I think that's his name, of Rivia. And he's going through this stuff. And then all of a sudden, like, he shows back up in the court of a queen who's already dead. And they don't like say, hey, this is 10 years ago. There's no like, there's nothing. All of a sudden, Steph looks at me. She's like, oh, she was dead. I'm like, I think this is a flashback. Because then all of a sudden, this girl is there that looks like the granddaughter, which turns out to be the daughter, who then, like, there's just... You watch it all and it makes sense, but there's like a couple moments where I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then it didn't help. Like, I fell asleep for one episode. Like, for most of it. I'll say about 40 minutes of the episode. And they do this weird, like, you know how, like, sometimes there's flashbacks and stuff and you know it's a flashback?
Yeah.
There's nothing. It just seems like one seamless thing, which is kind of cool. Well, you got to be on your A game, man, to like, all right, she's not dead anymore. This must be in the past. But then there's other events that are happening, and you think that they're happening at the same time. And then you watch the last episode, and you're like, No, that had to have happened way before that even happened, which we're talking before the Queen even died. That had happened there, but it seems like when they were telling it, it seemed like it was happening concurrently with what was happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's good. I think the book would be amazing.
Maybe
I'll probably get it.
the later ones might be. The first ones might just be him getting his foot in the...
Yeah. Yeah. But it's cool, like, if you like fantasy, especially like something different from Game of Thrones, like if you want like badassery with magic and mages and not have to remember like 12 different families and names of people, it's fun.
Dude, but you read Lord of the Rings. You slogged through the last book.
Oh my god.
Where the first 50 pages is just pretty much reading the Old Testament.
I couldn't even tell you anything about it. I did not care about that. I remember slogging through it like, don't care. Don't care.
No, then that's an example. Like Lord of the Rings. The books are maybe okay, but I just go with the movies. I'm sure there's a lot more going on in the books that is extremely interesting.
My controversial point is I love Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes that one because all they do is walk. But the book is badass compared to the movie. And the movie's like fucking, what, 3 hours, 4 hours? Christ, I don't know. 3 hours. But,
yeah.
And then there's extended versions out there.
Yeah. And there are people who sit through all three of them on the extended cut. Like, that was like my sister and her friend's ritual towards like the end of their high school year, is they would, for New Year's, they would watch Fellowship all the way to Return of the King straight through.
I know Joe and Rory did that once, but they were pretty stoned.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weed smoked.
Well, this is when I found out that, like, she drank. This was in high school. It was really funny. And, like, she, like, was very ashamed of it. And, like, I was like, well, what were you drinking? She's like, her friends, like, brought, like, a couple Smirnoffs. Like, not even, like, a full case or anything. They just had, like, a couple. And they were getting, air quotes, bombed and watching Lord of the Rings. It's fucking hilarious.
It's a good movie. I don't know. I like the book. That was one, though, I will say, like, the characters did not detract from the story for me.
Well, no, so that's the thing. If you get the perfect casting, like, if they were to, like, for this Norse mythology thing, if they were to find actors or they drew it in such a way that it was the exact same as the picture that you had in your mind, would it be more appealing?
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like the one thing, like, we talked about Lord of the Rings, like, that was a detailed enough book in his descriptions, because some of them were very long-winded. Like, you kind of had a visual of what these things looked like, and there wasn't really any deviation. I feel like Gaiman, while he is an amazing descriptor, leaves his characters somewhat vague as far as looks.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter if it's vague, but if the artist has the exact same sort of mental reference
as me,
as you do,
well, I mean, what are the chances of that?
Hypothetically, because that's the same thing that happens with movies. Like, there are certain characters or certain actors or actresses who fit the character to a T. Like,
so don't cast Nicolas Cage as Gandalf.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of want to see that movie now. Oh, that would be an awesome edit for somebody to do with, like, deep fake technology. Just swap in Nicolas Cage in every scene with Gandalf. But no, like the guy who's playing Constantine right now is apparently like the
Yeah,
perfect
he's pretty
John
good.
Constantine.
But there were pictures, like, he fits the pictures of the comic.
Yeah.
I mean, they're...
Well, no, it's like the same. It's slightly different because you've got already previously illustrated
Sure.
references, where in a novel, you have to sort of find an actor or actress who fits those words that are described. But by virtue of people being human and having completely different experiences from each other, everyone's gonna have a slightly different version of what that character looks like. Like, no one is ever going to have the same exact image as the actual author who was writing the book as the people reading it, because there's a separation. You can only get so close, but most people will have a very similar looking kind of person in mind when they're reading it. And so casting directors are drawing from that same thing, and they can find a person who looks similar enough that fills enough people's perspective of that person or perception of them that they actually fit that person to a T. So, if they're able to do that, isn't that amazing? Isn't that exactly what you want? Like, you're not going to please everybody. Like, everyone...
Well, then my question is what the fuck was up with Keanu Reeves?
Well, no, that's because he was a big name. That was after he had done The Matrix.
I'm just saying, man. Like, if that's the casting director's job, that motherfucker should be fired.
I still like Constantine. That was my first introduction into him.
Story-wise, good. Checked all the boxes for me as far as, like, at that point I'd already read the comic. But, like, I remember texting you, I'm like, I don't know about Keanu Reeves. Like, I remember you telling me to watch the movie a while, and I'm like, well, dude's got black hair. Like, what the fuck? But this other guy, he fits it to the T. And he's the same one that was on the TV show, the Constantine TV show. Yeah, too. Yeah. That was a good show. I'm kind of pissed about that.
There's actual... I don't know if it's, like, going... Somebody said they wanted to see Constantine and Lucifer show. I don't know if you ever watched Lucifer.
Yeah, we watched a little bit of it. Steph and I did. It interested me. She wasn't really into it. That went for quite a while, too, didn't it?
It's like 4 seasons. Netflix picked it up.
Yep. And they've been keeping it going. I thought there was 5 or 6 now.
Oh.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me.
Pretty sure it's by the same guy who did Californication.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
But that's David Duchovny. I mean, I'll watch anything with him in it.
Evolution.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's amazing. X-Files. Like, I don't know. He's a good actor, though. Aquarius was pretty cool.
Never watched that.
That was pretty good. That's like a Hulu original, I think. No, it wasn't. But I remember watching it on Hulu. It's pretty cool. I also am kind of interested in the Charles Manson murders. Not to be creepy and weird.
This is not creepy and weird to me. I listen to, like, true crime stuff and listen to, like, really creepy pasta stuff. And
Yeah, that's true.
like, I listen to some very demented shit. Like, stuff that I sometimes am like, whoa, that's a bit too far. There's some stuff, because I don't wear headphones usually at work, especially when I'm in the closet, like, terminating or doing anything. But, like, there are some podcasts where I'm like, I probably can't listen to that here. It's... Somebody's gonna come by, hear that through the door, and, like, be very concerned.
All right. You on, like, the dark web or what?
No.
Apple puts everything out.
No, like that last podcast on the left. Like, they talk...
Yeah, some of that does... When I was listening to some of that was... I'm glad I had my headphones in.
Yeah, and, like, it just gets... It gets better. Oh.
And, well, and there's some weird... Just some straight up weird shit, too. Where I'm just like, huh? What? What was that? There was something I listened to... Never mind. can't talk about it. Don't remember it. So
No, because like I listened to there's a YouTube channel called uh, Reddit Aliens, where they go on Reddit and somebody's asked a question and they have all sorts of like really like kind of fucked up stuff, like people who work or like explorers in the woods, what's like the creepiest thing you've ever seen, or night owls, you've been up late, what's the creepiest thing you've seen at night. First responders, what's the craziest thing that you've have to encounter, or like what's the story of a time that you were stalked. And like some of these are like really fucked up. Or 911 callers, what's like the worst thing you've heard or had somebody call in for. And like shit gets weird, man.
that's the part of the internet I don't like.
Yeah, like after some of those, like I need a shower. Like,
Yeah, no. You and Steph like that Black Mirror shit too, and I'm just like, I don't like this. This makes me very uncomfortable, which is what it's meant to do, and I get that, but like it's to the point like I can't sleep. So I'm 30-something years old. That's pretty fucking sad on my part. I get it.
You're getting scared by a television show? A science fiction show?
I know it's fake, but my mind, I don't know, man. My mind goes places. And I think too, like some of it is like sheer exhaustion has an effect on me where like I have some really fucked up dreams based on what I read that day. Like I know when I was like really heavy into those Warhammer novels, I had some fucked up war dreams. Like pretty messed up shit. I don't know. I'm sure there's more depending on what I'm reading, but like,
dude, you should listen to these like fucked up Reddit things. No. Just hear me out. Listen to these things right before you go to bed. And then have your awesome dreams. And then tell me immediately after you wake up. And I will write that shit down.
Well, some of it I don't even remember, but I know I wake up just like fucking terrified. I know Steph said I've been talking in my sleep again too. That some crazy ass fucking shit, but who knows?
Go on any bank heists?
No, that was funny. Anyway, do
take
we
a
want
break quick?
Yeah, we can take a break. Beer break.
Beer break.
And then maybe come back and do some Doomsday.
Yep.
Nice.
That's it. Stop.
And we're back. From a beer break, cracking more beers. Nothing wrong with that. To the main event.
Alright, so I was saying that Batman dovetails nicely into Doomsday Clock. The reason for that is I think King is the only one who took the whole concept of Doomsday Clock being like a DC-wide event seriously, because he's the only one who has somebody that was like that's Thomas Wayne came from the whole Watchmen debacle, from the Reverse Flash going back through time trying to figure out what the button actually is. Batman and the Flash actually had a crossover thing.
Yep.
The event, the button thing.
Yep.
And I don't know if the Flash is actually like taking that seriously still, or if that was just like a one-off thing. But like King buckled down hard on that by having pretty much his entire story revolve around that like messed up universe actually occurring.
So a character from another multiverse showing up in another multiverse.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you could argue the Dark Knights, like the whole metal thing, kind of did that too, right? I mean, the Batman Who Laughs showing up from another.
But that wasn't influenced by the events of Doomsday Clock. Thomas Wayne coming in is directly affected by the button. Because you don't actually see Thomas Wayne until that 4-issue arc coming in to
Yeah.
the DC proper. So I feel Tom King was the only one who took it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of multiverse stuff happening since, I kind of think Multiversity kind of kicked it off, the acknowledgement. I mean, not that they haven't acknowledged that these things are happening on different timelines, but actually creating an explanation for it. Then the Rebirth issue with the Flash starting that whole thing with the button, and then obviously, like you said, the Flash, Tom King, Batman run, crossover, event type thing was all, yeah. So yes, all right, I'll agree with that. So it does dovetail nicely into that in this metaverse, multiverse thing that happens in Doomsday Clock. So I'm gonna let you lead this because I'm curious what you thought of this and what your talking points are.
All right, so I actually hated it when I first started reading it. Nothing very interesting was going on. Like, they start out with Superman and Dr. Manhattan looking at each other, and like a big fight's about to break out. And whatever they're talking about just seemed like recap of all the previous issues. And
Which we were going to do, and then sicknesses and everything else got in the way. Life got in the way. So we're just looking at 12 now. But
and I don't know, they're like the Alfred and the new Rorschach, them having their conversation. I don't know. It felt really bland. Even this giant, like, I appreciated this giant splash page of the fight about to break out. But there was, page, like, up until page 14, like, I was like, oh man, like, this is okay, but why aren't I reading like something good? And then they dropped that panel of the original Watchmen, and I was like, ugh, yeah, why can't I just be reading this? This isn't gonna matter at all. And then 2 pages later, you got Superman flying at Dr. Manhattan, and then he misses and he protects him. And for some reason, right then is where it clicked, like, that this is something worthwhile, because they were all like building up to this giant fight with Superman and Dr. Manhattan, like it was going to be the thing that ended everything or was going to kill Manhattan, like the very dualistic approach. And then Superman's like, I don't know even what the fuck you're talking about, but like, there are people that need saving. Like, if you're this superpowered dude and can see the future, like, help out just a little bit, man. Whatever fucking issue you got going on, like, it doesn't matter. And then from there, I really started appreciating what Jeff Johns was trying to say in this, and all the things that he was talking about started to like make more sense. And like the whole like Superman thing, like how he actually impacts DC as monumentally as he does, like it all stems from him. And you see how, by virtue of like minor tweaks and stuff within the timeline that they had, led to this version of the Doomsday Clock DC universe existing, and why Superman is the way he is in this version, like the Justice League of America not really existing.
So, what is John's trying to say? What do you think? Because you said there was a point where Superman is flying towards Dr. Manhattan, misses him, protects him, was like, you could fucking help out. You finally understood what he was saying. What do you think he was saying? Just the idea of Superman being as integral to all this stuff? or what did you mean
Well,
by
we could
that?
go. We could like just now thinking about it. I don't know what it wasn't that impacted me there. Just
But
it did. But right now,
what do you feel he was trying to say with this whole run? Like, what is the takeaway? What did you take away from this? That because I'm curious. I have an idea, but I want to know what you think first, because I might be way off in left field, and you might poke a lot of holes. So I want to know what you got first. This is kind of like you shoot first, I shoot first. You know what I mean?
yeah. It goes back down to like a whole meta thing. The whole metaverse is what he was talking about in like this entire run, and it could just be like a blanket thing. Like this is what everybody expects. Like in stories, there to be this climactic final confrontation. But at the end of the day, it's the character spirit that carries on.
Okay. So my thing, and this may, I don't know, maybe I'm way off base here, but, and lots of spoiler alerts here. If you haven't read this, go back now. So my thing is in the, I want to say like 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, no, let's go 8, 9, 10, 11. There's a lot of talk of the metaverse and the multiverse. And the metaverse is everything in the DC universe. Anything and everything that's ever happened on every single timeline. And within that, you know, you have a Superman as a central, in this case, as the focal point. He drives everything forward. He is the origination of DC Comics, right? But within that, you have this multiverse. And I don't know how Alan Moore would feel about this, but my takeaway is Dr. Manhattan explains how and why there are all these different multiverses. So like as he's traveling, and this kind of came up before, especially when Luthor was talking to Lois Lane, he's like, yeah, I found all these different pictures being left on all these different timelines, the same picture, which kind of is where there's an explanation of how that picture is in the very, very beginning, where Manhattan's going back in time when he's inside the room and he sees his wife, girlfriend, I don't remember, on the outside, and there's that picture of them, and it's being found on in all these different timelines, and he's like,
not that it's found in different timelines, that it's being taken in different timelines and found in the DC proper.
Yep. So, and like John, in a sense, is a god that, you know, he took off to Mars and he in Watchmen, and he created his own thing away from everything else because he was sick of it. So like in my mind, this is them saying there is this creator that creates all this stuff who can see and knows the end, but then there's that idea that even he doesn't know what the end is in some cases. Like this was supposed to be the end all. Either Superman dies and the whole world ends, or Manhattan dies and that's the end of the creation of the multiverse, of the different timelines and the different multiverses. To me, it was kind of interesting how, and especially the last page, the last 2 pages, when so John leaves, right? It
He
is a nice
disappears.
daydream to live in. Final thought as I give the last of my power to this world and this child, so that the planet has a protector who will receive love and return it. And then you have this splash page of I can only assume is Marionette and Mime's daughter being given to, well, because you find out earlier John put her somewhere, gave her to someone important to him, which I assume is his wife. I don't know that for sure. And she answers the door and says, "Oh,
No, he
my
took
name's
her.
Sally." Huh?
He took her. He took her son.
Oh, he took her son. Okay, my bad. But anyway, you got this Sally. My name's Sally. What's yours? And you have John calls me Clark, which you can only assume is Superman, and he's got the symbol of John's Manhattan's
Project,
symbol,
yeah.
on his forehead, creating this all new timeline again.
But you know who these two people are?
No, that I didn't get. Who is that?
I had to do research on that too.
Okay.
That is Silk Spectre and Night Owl.
No shit.
Yeah. When they left the at the end of the Watchmen, they went to go take on their own
Yep.
secret identities as normal people.
Yep. I forgot about that.
And so that Silk Spectre was John's girlfriend, paramour, or whatever in Watchmen, and that's the person who was important to him. So then he brings Clark Manhattan to the Watchmen universe.
Man, that's kind of full circle.
Yeah. No, that was kind of like what I was trying to articulate with this. You got the final confrontation. Like, you know how there was like this whole thing about how the Watchmen destroyed comic books, right? Like, it wrecked the trajectory that comics had been saying, or had been. Everybody just wanted dark and gritty, and so DC became dark and gritty, Marvel became dark and gritty, all their main continuities like became that. And then when Superman's like, nah, fuck that, like, it's a meta commentary about Manhattan actually being the one who is influencing all the comics, like in this version, like you were saying, but then also outside of it. Like, the only reason you got like the new 52 super dark and gritty stuff was because of the Watchmen. And what Johns is trying to say is like, no, you kind of do need that hope. The individuals are like just striving to do best, because Dr. Manhattan's like completely isolated and forgot what his humanity was, which is why Adrian had brought Marionette and Mime, or had brought Marionette to show him that there is humanity, or like, this was the one time where you were still human, you weren't just a god. And I think it was 11 that had a lot to do with Manhattan and his girlfriend, like prior, like the watch and shit.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. He talks a lot about that. No, that's a good point as well. And the fact that when you lose that sense of humanity, you can't see the future. There's also that scene too, which is pretty heavy in Watchmen. He keeps meeting with Carver, and towards the end, doesn't he show up and be like, "No, I made a mistake."
Yeah, was that in this one?
I thought it was. I'm looking. Yeah, it is. It's 1 second after my annual conversation with Carver Coleman. I'm not going to be here a year from now. What does that even mean? I'm sorry I didn't explain myself better. And then he's surprised he's back. It is I who will not be around. I haven't been a very good friend, Carver, but I can see so many futures now. make a good choice. Don't be afraid of what you feel. Which is interesting because that's after he comes to this, like you said, this realization. Oh, haha. So I just thought of this too. I just assumed because John called him Clark. Do you think that's Mime's, or I'm sorry, Marionette's anchor to the DCU? Because at some point, you know, she's like in that panel or up above, she's like, "We want our goddamn son, or our son, goddamn it, or son, damn it. Sorry, not God. You have a daughter on the way. As for your son, my plan is that you'll see each other again. He will need an anchor here, as I did, an anchor, and she doesn't get it."
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that some people are concerned about slightly. Like, do you need more Watchmen stories? And so now he's offered a key for people to go
See,
either way.
To me,
because yeah, this
like,
is...
I get that. I get that leaves that door open. Am I completely off base that this explains why? Like, you had multiversity. You understand that there's all these multiverses, but nobody explained why or how they happen.
Yeah, but
And to me, that gives some explanation. I get what you're saying. Like, I get that. It definitely leaves the door open for that. And I'm sure Alan Moore's like, double middle fingers, fuck you. Because he was pissed off when they redid that. Was it before Watchmen? And they had all that stuff. I never read any of them.
He was pissed at the movie, too. No, well, I didn't read it.
Yeah. I don't know. I really liked this book. I really liked how it all tied together. I'm really glad I read the previous issues leading up to it because of how long in between there was. I get it was a little tedious in the beginning. I did not hate it as much as you, though. I thought it was actually pretty cool. Again, just that idea that, I don't know, to me it brought the tension up even higher before the resolution. The thing with Rorschach, well, quote unquote Rorschach and Alfred, I enjoyed that stuff personally. That double splash page before the big fight is pretty amazing as well. But like like you said, once you get to that point where they're facing off, you know, that definitely is the climax. Like, all the pages before it, it's just building, 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 building. And then you didn't feel like it was a shitty payoff?
No, I thought it was really good. I don't know what I was like, why I was going through that mindset. I really enjoyed this issue, and I had meant to reread it before to get those first things. But like, I was just so concerned the whole time reading it. Like, I was expecting it to be like, I don't know, whatever kind of punch you needed straight away, and it was just like continually building to that punch. But you did have fucking 11 issues before that. So then you were just expecting to get... I was expecting to just get into the meat of it straight away. And it wasn't delivering whatever I needed. And I also still had that, like, huge question in my head. Like, why did they need to make another story with the Watchmen when there was already a really good Watchmen story? And it made sense then at the end, because like they didn't fuck with the Watchmen as much as I thought they were, kind of, at the beginning. Like, they brought it back, and they actually offered, like, the same thing. Like that was the thing about the one thing I wanted to talk about with Last Night on Earth was like Superman is always the crux, the central figure that all the universes like are created around, and that's what happened at the end of the Doomsday Clock for the Watchmen universe. Like the Watchmen universe is a very depressing place, and that's kind of what was happening in the DC universe by Manhattan meddling with the affairs of what was going on there. Like the DC universe became a very dark, depressing place, and I don't know if that was supposed to like carry on into what's up, dude? Into the other titles, and it just never actually happened. Like I really wanted to see what like that like how that would have interwoven into one another if Doomsday Clock had been on schedule and all the other books were like intermingling, because I have a feeling like other Watchmen characters were supposed to like go into like the Wonder Woman titles, the Justice League titles, the Superman title, like he did in the Batman title and the Flash, but shit got weird and it took too long for them to actually get there.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude, I just want to comment on the art on page 22 and 23. I could see why it was delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
those were monuments. I actually had some things to say about that. Like I don't know, like they're very minor things, kind of. But I think the panel layouts could have been different.
I dug it. I stared at those black pages for a while.
Did you?
I did. I mean, just him. You know, I understand now everything ends, and you have all these shots of these. You know, you got Lois Lane and Lex Luthor. You got Mime and Marionette. You got Rorschach, Alfred, and Batman. You got
the original Green Lantern.
Veidt, Superman, and then Superman like fading, and then black, and then nothing. And then you start to see it being reborn again. It begins with a child. The metaverse formed around this one and only son. And he comes and he lands. And you see him landing in like all these different time periods. The first one, there's like nothing there. The second one, there's apes. The next one is like, I don't know, some snow dudes. And then you get to his actual parents, quote unquote parents. And it's interesting too, like, he really plays with the DC universe. Like, oh, I'm going to take this out. Superman doesn't exist. Like, reading it, rereading it as, and this is something too where I'm going to say it again, like, these delays really hurt the story. I know everyone's still really pumped for it, but like, there was a point where I'm like, it's never going to come. I don't care anymore or whatever. Like, you lose, not that you don't care, but you stop thinking about it. Like, you're not even yearning for it anymore. Even though that last issue was like, when I read 11 again, reread 11 and 12 wasn't here yet, I'm like, holy fuck, I want it bad. To the point where I'm like, hey, I'll go online and read it. And you're like, no, don't do that. Don't. You've waited this long. Like, fucking sit down with the book. No, and I'm glad I did. I'm very glad I did. But like, just like he, even in the end, he's still doing it. And I think Veidt coming back, one, to show him, like, I think you raised a really good point with showing him his humanity. But two, it also raises the question, and like you said, maybe this opens the door for more Watchmen stories, but like, what's going on in that universe. Is Watchmen within the same universe? Are they in the same metaverse?
Yeah.
Okay. What's going on in that timeline? Because clearly John has the power to change it.
Well, he did change it. That's why he brought Clark Manhattan to it. So my interpretation of it is that shit got very fucked up, and it's still fucked up, but you go to whoever these people's, their last names. Carson's, maybe. Oh, Silk Spectre and
Yep.
Night Owls are like new thing. Like they're in the suburbs or whatever, so they're not really affected by all the craziness that is happening in the Watchmen universe. But he brought them a beacon of hope that they can rally around. That will eventually start to bring. It was like he injected hope into that very depressing timeline, if they wanted to follow that.
Oh, wow. I didn't even catch that. Like, on the radio, they're talking about Stop Smell the Roses. Dave, I'm planting a whole garden in honor of Dr. Manhattan. He removed all the nukes. The Doomsday clock has been reset. That's interesting. Well, that's interesting too. And it's 1946, 47, 48. My father is more worried about my future than my present. I inherit that. That's kind of something too that, Superman brings, like you said, dude, stop looking at the future, worrying about who destroys who or what happens, and fucking, there's people that need to be saved. You could help out. Like you said that, earlier. That's interesting, too. I always feel like we should have these conversations and then reread it, because I was so focused on the multiverse and the metaverse thing, because that fascinated the fuck out of me when I reread all of it, or especially like the previous 3 issues, because everything was like, to me, I was searching for that answer and you were searching for a different answer, and all the answers are there. It's just what you read and
What you're looking for at the current time. What do you think about the predictions that he was making about the future of the comic industry?
Who?
Dr. Manhattan, I think. It starts on 32, but it's more on 34? In the year 2020, Superman's timeline is bombarded by the reckless energies of an old god, once again warping the metaverse. It's July 2nd, 2025, a crisis unlike any the multiverse has ever seen, one that we'll call the Time Masters erupts, and then blah, 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 goes down to the bottom thing, where on July 10th, 2030, the secret crisis begins, throwing Superman into a brawl across the universe with Thor himself and a green behemoth stronger than even Doomsday, who dies protecting Superman from the invaders. Sounds like he's pushing for a Marvel DC crossover again.
That's interesting. I did not even think about that.
And then he keeps going on and on and on. And he's like, get used to reboots and fucked up continuity. Like, it's always going to happen. Like, that's the nature of the industry. That's how you keep it revitalized. Like, you revitalize it. And you can't be stuck in that hardcore continuity. Like, all those continuities still exist, but you gotta freshen it up. Because it's always going to be somebody's first experience into this universe. And you want to have an anchor. And he's saying that that's Superman.
He is the bridge stretching across generations that will lead everyone to peace.
Yeah. Because
see, when I was reading this stuff, I didn't think about it as like a look to the future. I was like, John, now that he sees the humanity and he's not so focused on the future and he's focused on the present and some of this stuff, like he's realizing some of this shit and it's resolving. He's finally realizing that there is a future and that look at all these different timelines that can happen. I also think like the commentary on the fact that he can't see the future is also a commentary on like the multiverse thing where like he may not be able to see in the timeline that he's in, but you know, this shows that different, like you said, all these things get fucked up, and in a millennium when his timeline converges with the legions, humankind will finally embrace the ways of Superman. Like, just that statement alone, like, instead of looking so close at one future, taking in the whole metaverse future, and he sees all these different things, he can finally see the future again. That it's not, you know, because some of these things might end, but it continues on in other places. Which is kind of interesting, too. I mean, you think about how many times they kill superheroes. It's kind of not a cop-out, but at least some sort of an explanation as to, you know. No? Am I way off base here?
I gotcha.
I don't know. Maybe it's crazy. Also probably kind of explains why the comedian shows back up too. And then once he goes back to his timeline, it's October 11th, 1985, glass shatters. Pete dies.
Yeah, the entire time before we started this, I was trying to figure out what actually happened to him. I had forgotten that he died.
Pete?
Yeah.
Yep. Man, I don't know. I mean, as cool as this was, I don't need any more Watchmen personally. This was hella cool though.
I think prepare for the possibility.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this was the highest selling book. Gonna take a beer break quick.
We're back from our beer break / letting a dog out. And we just decided we don't really have a whole lot more on Doomsday. It was good. It wrapped up everything well in my mind.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think I could have... It definitely didn't let me down, and I was getting worried about it. I know I said that to you multiple times where I'm like, this is a long wait. And they definitely Waited till the last minute to finish it up for the year, but
they made it. They made the deadline.
they made it. The 2 pages of black panels take a long time to get that black ink in there, so
I think it was just to let them get those 2 epic splash pages.
they were pretty epic.
I definitely stopped and just took those in for a good 5 minutes apiece. I didn't know who almost any of those characters were.
Especially with they did not follow the strict 9 panels, but of Watchmen, but they definitely put a lot of that in there. And to finally get to a point where you got those 2-page splashes.
Yeah, because those were the only 2, right?
I believe so. I mean, there were some pretty big splashes when they were all going to Mars to fight John, but not like that.
Whatever happened to those people? Are they still on Mars?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they said that they were on their way back.
Oh, did they?
I think that was somewhat explained. Let me look here. With the Justice League still on Mars fighting the being they claim to be truly responsible for the explosion in Moscow, the Prime Minister has ordered the Knights to protect America's interests. What those interests are remains unclear. And then we go through the whole shit with Rorschach, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't really say.
Yeah, because all the heroes that show up on the Superman splash, once the timeline is realigned, those aren't any of the people that were actually on Mars fighting.
Where's the other splash?
31.
Oh yeah, he says better late than never.
Yeah, but those are all the people from the timeline. Those aren't the people that were on Mars. Those are all the people that ceased to exist.
Oh yeah. I guess they probably fly back afterwards, you know. You know how they do.
They do the comic time travel stuff.
Yeah.
Comic
They'll
traveling
show
thing.
up tomorrow. Yeah, they don't ever really come back. I mean, fucking Constantine was on that fucking ship.
Yeah, what the hell was he gonna do against Manhattan?
I don't know. Well, no.
They all did some spell shit, and Manhattan's like, "Oh, that's very interesting." That was a thing that I wanted to talk to you about. I don't remember
they talk about magic.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was the distinguishing factor, I thought, about what made the superhero comics different from the comics that you actually enjoy reading. Was like within those panels, like the explanation about how you're just messing with the energies that creation has left over.
Yep. And it's fake.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought that was an interesting concept about what makes those kinds of stories different from your superhero.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, he's not wrong, though. I mean, they are literally messing with leftover energies from the Earth.
Well, that's pretty much what the entire Justice League Dark Current run is about with the other kind.
Yep. I mean, it was interesting. I'm just like, all right, that's cool. But yeah, you're right. It definitely fucks with my shit a little bit.
Yeah. No, I had more to it. I don't remember when I was reading it. I don't remember what the exact phrasing was or the thoughts that went around with it. It was going to be a little bit more profound than this little like ad lib.
No, but I mean, it raises a good point. Maybe, I mean, that's always been my thing though. Like, don't get me wrong, I like superheroes. They're cool. I've definitely got more into them over the years, but like at the end of the day, I like the magic, the demons, the fantasy more so than like, I mean, not that superheroes aren't a fantasy, but like
that genre.
Yeah, they more or less, the superheroes are more or less set in our world, so to speak, but at the same time, the magic. I don't know, I like the arcane type stuff. That's always been my jam.
The occult.
Yep. It kind of fits in with those myths and fables too,
Yeah, because you're a very big anti-proponent that modern comics and media are the current mythos. You prefer the old school myths.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like something like Doomsday Clock within the context of comic books and superheroes, I mean, this kind of is the myth of that. I mean, it definitely, in my mind, it's not just about a story about Superman fighting Lex Luthor and like take the current Justice League run. I mean, it's just a story. It has impacts on the universe, but it doesn't do anything profound or thought provoking. Not, well, thought provoking is not the thing. It doesn't do anything profound, maybe. It's not.
Well, no, you can say thought-provoking because this definitely causes thoughts about like the state of what it means to have a good uplifting story and the importance of having that aspirational hero in your universe as opposed to just doom and gloom all the time. Where from what I was reading in Justice League, it was just like, how crazy can we go? Can we keep escalating the danger level?
Yeah, it's more or less just stories about the characters. It doesn't do anything that advances the mythos of the superhero.
But you think Doomsday Clock does?
It explains the multiverse. It starts to do different things with it.
But you don't want to see them explore it any farther. You feel this?
It's not that. It's just like, I don't know that I necessarily need more Watchmen. To me, the Watchmen itself was profound enough that, like, I get it. To me, that was kind of a gimmicky thing with Doomsday Clock. It was cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's bad, but, like, I think there was somewhat of a gimmick thrown in there to try to draw some people in. Like, not everybody, and some people probably hate it, but I think it was something they did because they knew there was already a fan base in Watchmen. And they wanted to cash in on that again. Don't get me wrong. Well done. I enjoyed it. Well worth the wait. Well worth the money. I would recommend buying trades, going back and getting issues, read it. It's a good story. Definitely read Rebirth, that first Rebirth thing, so you kind of know everything going on. But, yeah.
I second that.
The gimmick thing?
No, the endorsement of the product and or service.
Yeah, I mean,
was a good read.
It's good. I mean, of all the things ending for the year, that's my top. I mean, Doomsday Clock, I can't say it was the best thing of the year, but the issues that did come out this year were good. Especially this one. Especially to end the year on a bang. It's just, where do you go from there?
In the Doomsday Clock? Watchmen universe?
Well, I mean, now Rebirth's tied up, so I'm sure they'll reboot it and...
Well, yeah, that's what he was saying the entire time, is just get used to it. That's comics. They're always going to be continuously doing that every 5 years. I think it had been a lot longer, but people's attention spans are
In this day and age,
limited.
way shorter.
And they're always trying to find that new audience, which is a thing that's like very confusing to me now. Like, especially after the whole, I don't know how much you follow the Star Wars thing, but like did you see the last movie, the newest one?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I didn't either. But like, the idea, critics hated it, the audience maybe liked it. Most people that I've talked to about it, they're like, well, it was better than The Last Jedi, but it was meh.
Yeah, I heard it was a lot of pandering to the audience.
And I heard like there was just so much going on. If you closed your eyes and just listened, you would catch more of what was going on. Like, it was just like too much was going on at the same time. But it's very interesting because Disney was trying to appeal to this new audience. Like, that's who they wanted. They wanted to rope in this new audience of people. But then they ended up pissing off that new audience with the end of this movie. So they already pissed off the old fans who really like this work, and then they didn't want anything to do with it. Then they got all the new fans in who like this thing, and then they pretty much said, fuck you to those new fans. We kind of want to try to get those old fans back, and they ended up just pissing off everyone. And then you got the Mandalorian that's doing gangbusters.
Yeah, Baby Yoda.
Yeah. But it's
if
like,
I hear any more about Baby Yoda, I'm gonna vomit.
well, no, it's just with like the reboots and stuff, they always try to make them fresh and crazy and exciting, and yeah, it does work, because I mean, we got into Batman because of like the newish stuff.
Here's my thing, and I just thought of this sitting here right now talking about reboots and stuff. Instead of rebooting, could they just do a better job of advertising like good jumping in points?
Well, see, that's the thing. There aren't good, like, the good jumping in points are number ones.
Are or aren't?
They are.
That's the belief. Because when I look and I see there's 300 issues of something and there's no advertising or explanation of like, hey, you want to get into something? Jump in at, issue 252. This is a good issue. And this is a good story arc. Like, that is one thing, like, reading comics and, like, actually following it pretty regularly now. Guardians of the Galaxy is a good example. First 6 issues, meh.
Bless you.
Second 6?
Got one more?
No, I usually do.
Oh, shit, that's not good.
The sickness is fucking me up. The second 6, I would highly recommend it. So, you know what? Read 6 through 12. But, like, that's not advertised. It's not even advertised in the, what do you call them?
The advertisements with inside the issue?
No. The,
Previews?
Yeah, the previews or the solicitations. It's not even explained there. Like, I get the idea of rebooting to number 1, but, like, there are books they kill that, I get it. Don't print as many. Like, I need Swamp Thing. I don't understand. Like, Justice League Dark is doing well. If it's because Wonder Woman's in it,
suck it up and deal with it.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Hellblazer ran for years.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How many times does Swamp Thing get brought up in the podcast? Like, every time?
Okay, so if anybody didn't hear that, Stephanie asked, how many times does Swamp Thing get brought up in the podcast? JD, do you have an answer?
At least twice.
At least.
Every podcast, twice.
That should be... That's
guys,
a new drinking game.
Guys, I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna come out.
Shot.
I'm gonna come out and say it. I hate Swamp Thing. I don't know. No, I'm just saying, like, this is the part that pisses me off. They do these reboots and they fucking get rid of all the shit I like. Maybe it's a personal thing. I don't know. Does nobody like Swamp Thing?
So what you
Or
should do?
Constantine?
So what you should do?
He's the other one that comes up a lot.
Just don't buy any. Because the second they're like, oh shit, Jeremy likes this, boom, canceled. But if you just refuse to buy anything, you'll have 300 issues of Swamp Thing and Hellblazer and Justice League Dark
to catch up
and
on.
then you'll catch up on it in 10
And then they'll
years.
cancel that.
Yeah, because then you finally start buying it.
Then they'll put the trades out of print. Yeah, we're not printing these anymore. Fuck Jeremy. Yeah, no, man. That's kind of why I like how Marvel does the legacy numbering. At least then.
No, they started doing the legacy number,
okay.
but they still adhere to the old
the
numbering.
reboots.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Because like this, the Guardians is legacy.
But if
162.
you take everything we talked about on Doomsday Clock, and I'm so passionate about this, I'm holding it in my hand, waving it at him.
Yeah, you're gonna bend it, man.
That's
Careful.
all right. That's
There's
all
gonna
right.
be creases.
You think this is gonna be worth money?
You never know. It's a variant.
01221.
I kind of like this cover more.
Yeah, no, I agree. I didn't make a good.
The one
pick
with
on
the
that
Superman being very reminiscent of the Watchmen smiley face button. Even got the blood splatter on there.
Okay, clearly I didn't look that close. If you adhere to that, they're saying it's all one and the same. There's going to be reboots, there's going to be this, there's going to be that, get used to it. We live in a multiverse. People die, they come back. It's just cyclical, right? Okay, so if that's the case, you got New 52, and then you got Rebirth, and then I'm sure there's one coming, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's the Time Masters.
Oh, you already know.
Then
Why continue the numbering of Batman?
Why are they continuing it?
Yeah.
Because technically, the Batman continuity never actually ended.
Okay, here's my question. So they started over at number 1 in New 52. That was the hard reset, right? Then they started over at number 1 on Rebirth for Tom King's run. But they're not going to start over at number 1 for Tynion's run.
Because it's got numbers already. So they're afraid that if they reboot it now, they'll lose those numbers.
They weren't afraid. I mean, according to that article, New 52 Snyder's run was amazing. But they rebooted it with that Rebirth issue.
Yeah, because Rebirth changed everything except Batman. The Batman continuity didn't change.
So why renumber it?
Because
that right there contradicts what you were saying.
That was part of the whole Rebirth initiative.
But this isn't changing.
The Batman?
Yeah.
No. Not all.
So they're going to continue the numbering this time, but not last time?
Wonder Woman is continuing on the same numbering. Superman was the only one that changed. I think Aquaman is still on the same numbering. Suicide
From
Squad.
New 52?
No, from the Rebirth. The original Rebirth.
Yeah, everything's still on the same
Yeah.
numbering as the
But
original Rebirth.
They were swiping the whole slate clean, but that didn't mean the continuity in some of them changed. Because what the Joker is doing in Tynion's run goes back to Snyder's run when the Joker found out that Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So technically Batman is the only one who has never changed through from the New 52 to the Rebirth. So like Johns is saying Superman is like the crux of everything, but DC proper is like, nah, Batman really is.
Okay. Yeah. I just want something that gets into like the hundreds. I mean, shit. I mean, fucking Detective never changed.
No. And you know how cool it was to jump on like 940 something for
Probably
Tinian's
very cool.
run? No,
See,
like it's super
but
dope.
you fucking sought that shit out. See, that's what I'm saying. They fucking do. We live in the internet age. You could find a good spot to start. Advertise it better. Fucking put shit on your goddamn website. The DC website is fucking horrible.
Yeah, I don't.
No, I don't either. You want a playlist for something? How to read Dark Knight's Metal? You want a playlist for how to read Darkest Night? Fuck DC. DC ain't gonna tell you shit.
Yeah. Marvel's website isn't any better.
Okay, but whatever. Fuck them all.
Yeah.
Get a better... I'll do it for you. You hire me. I'm fucking extremely organized, detail-oriented. I will fucking write all that shit up. Pay me. I'll sit on my ass at home. I'll fucking write articles all day about this is where you should start here and this is where you should start here. Just send me all the books. We're good.
Yeah,
you probably got stockpiles of them.
DC might do that. Marvel doesn't do that.
Why?
You gotta buy your own copies of shit to read.
If you work for them?
Yeah. Marvel's like a really shitty place to work for, from the articles that I've read.
Fuck Marvel. Don't really like you anyway. Only a couple things, and you fucked up Deadpool, and Scotty Young, so fuck you. DC, call me.
They gave him a whole new book to work on.
Yeah,
You don't care about the...
I love Doctor Strange.
No, that seems like the perfect book, kind of.
Dude, that preview sucked balls. Sucked balls. You know what that is? That's like Marvel's version of Harry Potter. Only bad. And that's saying something because I don't really like Harry Potter. You like Harry Potter. We always watch Harry Potter when it's on TV. And I'm just like, I read the first book as a kid. And I was like, all right, this is a book about magic. But it's kind of childish. Like, and I was...
Well, it's a kid's book.
I was in like 5th, 6th grade maybe. Like it was, I still lived in Plymouth. I remember reading in Plymouth. So it had to be sometime between 5th and 7th grade. And I was just like, this is childish. Give me something that's good. I was always an advanced reader, but maybe I was reading some fucked up shit then. I was probably reading some like big, thick Star Wars novels or something. And I was like, eh. And I still liked that stuff. Like, I was playing Magic the Gathering, and I liked all that shit, and was like, yeah, reading magic novels. That was a thing. If anybody remembers that.
Yeah, they stopped doing that.
I know, but they were good. I still have 2 of them. I really liked them. I don't know, man.
Oh, hold up. Yeah, so if you want to get in contact with us, you can check us out at 2CanRant at Twitter. We are 2_rants, or you can send us an email at 2canrants@gmail.com.
Please.
Yeah.
Please send us.
And if you like this, there's a button. You should click it and subscribe.
And if you hate it, tell us why. But don't be an asshole. Like, really explain why. We take the time to formulate, some of us take the time to formulate thought-provoking things. And if you disagree, I agree. You know, I give you that right. We can agree to disagree on some stuff. If you're going to be like, fuck you, I hated Doomsday Clock, that's cool, man. That's cool. That's cool.
This is
but like, give me some constructive criticism.
This is where we would cut to audio from episode 1 where you're just screaming, "Come at me, bro! Come at me!"
Seriously though, come at me, bro. Like I can take that. Look at you, fucking peeked that shit out.
Yeah, I was trying to
I was trying to
emulate
just like me. No, but I'm just saying, like, you know, if there's something you want to hear, or we suck, you know, because we suck, not because of our opinions. That's all I'm saying. It'd be nice.
If we suck, you suck too.
Hashtag bunch of pussies.
Hashtag bunch of pussies.
Well, yeah, if you got suggestions that you want to hear us rant about,
Oh,
let
yeah.
us know.
Yeah, I'd love that too. Movies, video games. Well,
we
not
don't-
so
we
much
don't do
movies. I don't
movies.
watch movies.
Jeremy's anti-movies.
I don't watch movies. Maybe I'll watch a movie here or there.
And anti-TV,
Maybe
unless
a little
it's...
more
Unless it's The Witcher. Yeah, if you want to hear more about Swamp Thing, let me know. I got more. I got plenty. Where that came from.
We should be careful. This could just turn into a giant Swamp Thing podcast. I mean, there is a well of books to read.
All I'm saying is everybody hated Brian K. Vaughan's run, and that shit was fucking amazing with Tefe.
Yeah, that's the only one I bought.
That is amazing. Come at us. Come especially at JD. Because he fucking love that
It's
shit.
the only one I bought. It's better than Saga of Swamp Thing.
Nah, all right. We got blasphemy.
Them's
I'm
fighting
shutting her down. I'm
words.
shutting her down. We got anywhere more places where we can be reached?
Not at the minute, but check in
Anywhere
next
more?
week. We might have some.
All right. Oh, fuck. It's me, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is going to be good. All right. We're just two cans who can rant because we got two tall cans. Is that it?
No.
No.
This is the only time you fucked up. Did you practice fucking it up?
We're just two cans who can rant because we got two tall cans.
We're just two cans with two tall cans who can rant because we got two tall cans.
That's what I just said.
Nah, you skipped a bit.
We're just two cans who can rant because we got two tall cans.
We're just two cans with two tall cans.
Oh,
Dude.
fuck. We're just
Got it.
two cans with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tall cans who can rant because we got way too many cans on the table. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm JD. And that's Steph over there.
Yep.
Peace out, Cub Scouts.
I